Hello and welcome to Safe Schools. I'm Curtis Graves.
And I'm Andy Howard.
Andy, my friend.
Curtis.
Bud.
How's
How
it
are
going?
you, man?
I'm great, buddy.
What's going on today? What do we have on tap today?
Well, what we got on tap today is, I think, going to be a great guest, and I think going to be a great show. It's going to be Mr. Kenyen Brown. He's the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Alabama. Okay. We want to talk a little bit about his office and what they do there.
We're going to talk about some programming, right?
Some of his programs, some of the things, some of the initiatives that he has in the community. Programs about reentry for ex-offenders, the Safe Neighborhood, and
Project Safe Childhood as well, right?
Project Safe Childhood.
Cool. Okay.
I think there are going to be some good things to share with the community and something worth spending a couple of minutes with us.
I already like it.
We'll be right back.
Diesel is a very big industry, and I went into it in a 2-year program at the Bryant Career Tech with Tony Tillman.
When Jacob graduated from the Bryant Career Center, he had earned his diesel credential.
The Career Technical Center taught me a lot, all the way from not knowing anything about a motor or engine to knowing pretty much every single moving part of them.
MCPSS Career Tech. Start your future today.
The quality of education that I received from the Mobile County Public School System really prepared me for global success. Being an international opera singer, I get to travel all across the world. And one of the most important aspects about that is being able to communicate and work with people. And the Mobile County Public School System really equipped me to be greatly successful worldwide.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Let's switch to Energy Star light bulbs and stop burning through cash. Saving energy saves you money.
And we're back with Mr. Kenyen Brown. Welcome, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Glad to be here today.
Appreciate you coming on. We just are just thrilled to have someone of your stature and position in the community, give a couple of minutes to spend a few moments with us to talk about some of the things that you got going on in your office and the relationship that you have with the community, including the school district. But before we talk about those things, I want to talk a little bit about you, Mr. Brown, and how you found yourself in this place at this time.
Well, originally I'm from Detroit, Michigan, but
Okay.
I also grew up partly in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But I finished at the University of Alabama undergrad.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, and went to the University of Tennessee for law school.
Okay.
Been blessed to have various jobs, deputy district attorney in Montgomery, as well as working in the current office where I am now for about 3 years in the late 90s.
We actually have your website up right now as well,
Okay.
so yeah, very impressive.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
I see that you joined the U.S. Attorney's Office and, as you say, fairly quickly rose to head that office. I looked at the process. It's just amazing how quickly this is happening, knowing how our Congress works for what you managed to do. And to clarify my point, you were nominated in October
2009.
in 2009, confirmed in November, and took office as head of that office in December. That's
Yeah, actually, it wasn't
great.
quite that quick. I believe the time frame was about June.
Okay.
In terms of the nomination and then confirmation in late November. So when you're a nominee, certainly it seems like
I'm a little familiar
forever.
with that,
Yes.
and I know it takes a long time usually. So you sail through that process.
Let's talk about something real quick, not to cut you off, Andy. I'm sorry, but for the sake of time, let's talk about What is the U.S. Attorney's Office and what do you guys do?
That's a great question. As we alluded to here, the U.S. Attorney is presidentially appointed, and it's the attorney who is the top prosecutor and civil litigator on behalf of the United States for a certain geographic region. In the state of Alabama, there are 3 districts, the Southern, Middle, and Northern, and I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Alabama, which encompasses 13 counties, certainly Mobile, Baldwin County, but all the way up to Selma and Moundsville, actually, is within my jurisdiction.
And you never have a boring day either, right?
No, never have a boring day.
I looked at your press releases earlier, and there's a long list of different things you guys have been taking action on, doing a lot of good work for the citizens in Mobile County and Baldwin County.
We certainly try. The work is very varied, from Americans with Disabilities Act enforcement to prosecuting terrorists to getting narco-terrorists along the American-Texas border or Texas-Mexican border is something that we all do. So it's pretty exciting.
Right. Let's talk about education. Let's talk about how education extends outside of the walls of education. Let's talk about some of your programs that go along with addressing education and trying to make sure that that our children have the best possible opportunity to receive a good education. And a lot of that has to do with one of your programs, Project Safe Childhood. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Project Safe Childhood is a Department of Justice initiative that's been in existence for several years. And basically it's aimed at limiting or trying to eliminate child exploitation. So those are child enticement cases over the internet where someone might try to meet a parent's child over the internet and entice them to have sex with them. It might include graphic images of minors being exchanged over the internet. And something that we don't think about, or maybe kids don't think about, is sexting. And that's when you take a nude or partially nude photograph of yourself and you send it to your boyfriend or girlfriend thinking that they're going to keep it to themselves. That in itself could be considered the propagation of child pornography in and of itself. But let alone the trust that you have as a teenager and such, really that photo goes far beyond where the child who's sending that message thinks it will go.
And that's significant, what you're saying right there about internet and how it is either used appropriately or misused. And a lot of our young folks don't really maybe have a full appreciation of how significant what you're saying might be in the course of their lives. What goes out there on the internet stays out there on the internet.
Right, and what we want to do real quick is go to your website and look at some of the things that you have posted on internet safety and mobile phone safety and texting safety tips for kids. These are things that not only children should know, but their parents should know as well, right? And we're looking at some of them right here, right now. You're saying do not post personal information online. How critical is that?
That's absolutely critical. In fact, we have a training program that is nationally recognized, award-winning program, where we go into the schools and we will help train students and parents about internet safety. And a lot of times as parents, we're behind the curve.
Right.
The kids know the technology a lot earlier than we do. And so we need to be aware, and we've given this lecture to probably about 10,000 to 15,000 kids and about 8,000 parents throughout the district, but particularly in Mobile and Baldwin County, the heaviest, because that's where our greatest population is. So if someone wants us to come out and do that, we'll be glad to do that.
And we will call on you to do that. One of the things, and thanks for letting us know that, one thing that we also want to talk about is you have, for kids not to join online gaming or something to that effect, if I can find it again, because we do know that children oftentimes play video games online. They get in little chat groups or whatever, and they find themselves playing with strangers, when that stranger may not be 9-year-old Becky, it may be 30-year-old Tom, right?
That's right. Oftentimes these games, be it the PlayStation or the PX games, they have a chat feature. And you know, if you're with your friend, you might talk trash back and forth, but it's also a fertile ground for predators to try to recruit children to molest.
And we're going to continue this conversation in just a moment, but we have to take a commercial break.
Nonviolence will start with me.
Nonviolence will start with me.
All across the Mobile County public school system, students are taking the pledge.
I pledge to accept the responsibility of my actions.
To solve problems peacefully.
Respect myself and others.
The 100 Days of Nonviolence Pledge. It's an initiative to help explore alternative means of stopping violence among school students. Will you take the challenge? Get involved. Take a stand. 100 Days, 100 Ways.
Smartboard, that's wrong.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to energy-saving bulbs. Saving energy saves you money. When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money.
And we're back.
Mr. Brown, I have been fortunate to have had some relationship with your office in the past in the dealing with gangs, and your office facilitating with the law enforcement community and the other stakeholders in the community, talking about how to be more conscious about and try to be more responsible, reactive in dealing with the gang issue that has promulgated across the country, and this part of the country has not been immune. We've had to deal with that kind of thing just to some degree, and so we want to be proactive in making sure that young folks are more conscious about the negative detractors with being involved in that kind of thing. It was a long time ago when I interacted with your office, but I was just so fortunate that the U.S. Attorney's Office was the agency that actually facilitated my having an opportunity to interact with other agencies and share what we're doing and them be supportive of us, the school district. So I don't know if I had a chance to thank you guys, but I appreciate that, that the U.S. Attorney's Office has that kind of relationship. The Law Enforcement Coordinating Committees, that's one of the things that you guys do, isn't it?
That's right. That's where law enforcement comes together on a monthly basis, and we talk about the law enforcement needs in the district. And it's a collaborative effort of state, local, and federal law enforcement. And you mentioned gangs, and that's certainly something that does exist in our area. We're not immune, as you stated. Now, one of the greatest things to combat gang activity is the opportunity for children to have pro-social modeling activities. And so what I love about the Mobile County school system is that they've invited in Big Brothers, Big Sisters. They're very active with the Boys and Girls Club. Those interactions, particularly with a certain population of kids who might not have fathers in the home or don't have as much access as perhaps some other communities, those interactions are critical because they need to see people that can give them advice, that's good advice and that is positive rather than something negative. So in other words, their role model does not need to be the drug dealer that's flashing a Ruger. You know,
constructive versus destructive.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And modeling is absolutely what we want to happen. And one of the things that we know in the schools is if a kid comes with a positive mindset, they have a better chance of having a good experience at school and maybe being successful later on in life. So the kinds of things that you're talking about are just hugely beneficial to our community and to the young people that we serve. And we appreciate those kind of relationships and the kinds of things that both your office and the other stakeholders in the community are facilitating, supporting our children and our community
Is all of that part of the Project Safe Neighborhood? Or?
That is part of Project Safe
Okay.
Neighborhood. We are actually, I've had the chance to talk with Superintendent Peak, both about Chief Barber's initiative about You Still Have a Chance, and the videos coming into the schools. I think that's great.
Right.
But I'm also promoting something relating to gun safety.
Okay.
And so that children will know that for them, there's really no distinction between some of these toy guns and what are actual guns. And to treat a toy gun or a real gun, if you find it or something like that, as the same. You wouldn't pick up a snake. Why would you pick up a gun?
Right.
We've had incidents, of course, where children have shot children because they think it's a toy gun, or they don't recognize that it's not a video game, and you don't pop up with another life, or it's not a movie where you pop up. So what we're doing is we're working with local law enforcement for them to fund the construction of trailers that have bulletproof glass in them, and then we'll have a mounted gun. And first we'll go through a scenario where we have the kids try to identify a toy gun from a real gun. And
All right.
and in many instances you can't. But then to have that gun shoot a bullet at a watermelon within this protected trailer.
Now, is that something new to the country, or is it just something new to Mobile County?
This is something new to the state of Alabama. The state of Louisiana has been doing this for a few years successfully because they had a lot of children being killed by children accidentally, or killing parents or people in their lives accidentally. So we want them to be able to see that once that bullet is gone out of the gun, you can't retrieve it. And we want them to see the destructive force of that bullet on the watermelon and the fact you can't put that back together.
And I guess it goes towards trying to address the desensitizing of children with video games, because again, they correlate that with reality when it's not.
That's right, that's right. There's so many violent video games out there, and if they're playing these video games, you're right, they're desensitized. They really don't appreciate and understand that you're killing something or you're destroying something. Like I said, we'll ask the kids to try to put that watermelon back together after a bullet has hit it, but they won't be able to do it. So it really creates an appreciation for the destructive nature of a gun. And we're excited to be bringing that program along with law enforcement to our local schools.
Sounds great.
The laws related to guns in schools is mostly from the federal side, isn't it?
Well, it varies. Here in the state of Alabama, I would think that the federal law is most applicable because the state gun laws are not as strong as the federal laws. In other states, the state gun laws are stronger, so it really varies.
Okay, and we just want to make sure that young folks understand that guns aren't toys. They are dangerous instruments that cause harm. And so we want to make sure that these young folks do appreciate the things that you're saying about how guns can do great harm and how they need to have respect for the dangers of what weapons can do, and make responsible decisions as related to their being involved with or associated or even having proximity to guns. That's significant.
And I guess too, again, the whole framework of this conversation has to do with the child. And another part of that child has to do with the parent, male parent or female parent. And that leads me into my next topic of discussion is your Project Hope, your reentry program, and the significance of that program, not just from the perspective of the person who's incarcerated trying to re-enter society, but the impact that person has on their child by not being with them prior to incarceration or during incarceration. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, Project Hope is a re-entry initiative aimed at reducing the recidivism rate for offenders who are returning to the community. When I came back, I noticed that there were different aspects that existed in the community that could support one returning to the community from prison, but no one had taken the time to draw all those resources together in one place so that the ex-offender could go to a one-stop shop. So I've partnered up with nonprofits, service providers, as well as the faith-based community in order to help support offenders coming back to the community. One of the things we have is the Beautiful Gate Ministry, and they go into the prisons and they develop mentoring relationships with the prisoners, but one of the services they provide away from the prison once they get out is they provide family counseling, and how to deal with an individual coming back into the home where they left when they were the boss, and they've been out, and then it often leads to a domestic violence type
Very
situation.
interesting discussion, and this discussion will continue after this commercial break.
It started with me at Murphy High School when I came here as a freshman in 1973. I was very interested in math and science already before I came to Murphy. From Murphy High School, I was appointed to the U.S. Naval Academy, was able to get my college degree and also my commission in the U.S. Navy from the Naval Academy. But it truly was the foundation that I gained here at Murphy High School that allowed me to take advantage of that great opportunity.
And we're back. Mr. Brown, we were talking briefly about the reentry program, and we were talking about what makes up this program. And then I decided to ask you this question, kind of personal, but not so much. Everyone in the U.S. Attorney's Office across the country, everybody's not doing this program. You're doing this program. You're doing this program for a reason outside of just because it makes sense. But what else makes you want to do this program and see it achieve?
My reasoning or rationale is twofold. First, personal faith. Matthew 25 says, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I needed clothes, you gave me clothes. You know, when I was in prison, you visited me. And so I think that's part of Christian obligation and duty. Now, beyond that, as the chief law enforcement officer, if my goal is to reduce crime, studies have shown that if people have good jobs and the ability to support themselves once they come out, they're a lot less likely to commit a new crime when they come out.
That's right.
So as the chief law enforcement officer, I've got the hammer, but I also have the carrot. And I think that you have to have those things working in tandem in order to reduce the crime rate, because really we don't want to see them continue that cycle of crime, poverty, and self-degradation.
We want to reduce recidivism.
That's right, because guess what? Their kids are going to be the next generation
Exactly.
of people who are incarcerated.
And we know, based on data, that children of incarcerated parents are more likely to see the penitentiary than those who have parents outside of the penitentiary.
That's correct.
Right. You also have something listed here as well on your website here, and I really love this quote that you have. It says, it talks about ex-offenders, that it's like Ben Franklin said, the Constitution only guarantees the right to pursue happiness. You have to catch it yourself.
That's absolutely right.
That's heavy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The power to make a positive new beginning rests in your hands, head and heart. Take advantage of the tremendous resources available to you and make every effort to grab hold of the American dream. Now, when we talk about that, we look at the fact that it's your responsibility. You have people like yourself and others that are out there willing to give you a hand, okay, a hand up. Take advantage of the opportunity to take that hand and get yourself up. And I'm amazed to find out personally from going into the jail myself, talking to guys with the Fatherhood Initiative, that there are men that are incarcerated who really want a second chance, and they really want to make their families proud. They want to reconnect with their children because they don't want to see their children repeat what they've done.
That's absolutely correct. That's all of that terrible cycle that we're talking about, because if we don't help the parents And it all goes back to socioeconomics. If you have one income, one parent, you know, and you don't have the instruction of the father, just the impact of a father not being in the home is tremendous.
Just doubling the effort.
Yeah,
you know?
it just is tremendous towards creating a child that won't have the pro-social modeling that I was talking about that can end up going the wrong direction.
A kid needs to have both of those images, both of those representative scenarios in their life. If they can have that male image, that female image, so they can see the appropriate way to function and have someone who can model it for them. And you know, some of these parents who have been through those experiences have learned and have something to share. And maybe prevent that error from being repeated.
Yeah, and again, I cannot undersell the importance of pro-social modeling. We've got Team Focus here in town, run by Mike and Mickey Godfrey. Wonderful organization. We've got the Boys and Girls Club. We've got Big Brothers, Big Sisters, a number of organizations, nonprofit organizations that are aimed at helping our kids stay on the right path.
You are actually in the middle of trying to help offenders re-entering society now with mentors, is that right?
That's correct. We kicked off a mentoring program. What it is volunteers will work with or be a mentor to an ex-offender, actually, not a child, but an ex-offender for 18 months. And every month they commit to 2 face-to-face meetings and 4 additional contacts, either by phone or text. Again, pro-social modeling to try to help them get rid of what they call stinking thinking. Someone other than a probation officer or law enforcement or the family or friends that steered them down the wrong road previously, someone, a good community member that can help them. And we still need volunteers.
And given the opportunity, given that you're talking to viewers right now, what would you say to encourage people to take this step in trying to help someone re-enter society?
I would say it's not always perfect. People stumble, people make mistakes, and they'll make mistakes in that mentoring relationship. However, the impact that you can have on that person's life by volunteering a little bit of your time can be tremendous. Some of the heartwarming stories you hear about programs like this that have taken place in other places, for example, Pensacola, Florida, it's just tremendous. So I would say, you know, take a little time to help your brother or sister, and it's just good advice. Coffee, tea, you know, over coffee or tea, that can make all the difference in a person's life.
With that being said, we've got to thank you for coming out here today. We thank our viewers for taking the opportunity to tune in and chat or watch us chat and discuss some of the things that pertain to making Mobile, as Chief Barber says, the best city in America. He's embraced that, and we want to embrace it as well.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. This is the conclusion of Safe Schools, and thank you for giving us your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you.